All right, Metal Maniacs, it's the Meista from Brews and Tunes. Cheers. I am absolutely beside myself with excitement tonight. I am chatting with a metal legend, the one and only Nasty Ronnie from Nasty Savage. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Yeah, man, it's great to be here. Appreciate what you do, supporting metal, and man, that's what it's all about. So I'm always happy to help someone help me and help Nasty Savage and still represent after 41 years, man.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been 41 years. It's insane like I was thinking about that today. Like I was listening to just the other day, I was listening to Wage of Mayhem, and I'm like, how is this 40 years old? That's insane. Like, how am I this old? And I mean, I think it's a testament to the legacy of the band and the fact that you guys, I mean, it still sounds fresh and relevant as it did, 40 years ago, in my opinion.
Well, to me, Nasty Savage has really always been about the music, because the music is, what drives everything. As far as being a front man, I do that on stage and the lyrical stuff, but without that mesmerizing music from Ben and Dave through the years, and the different bass players we had, but it stood the test of time. And it's weird because I was thinking the other day, I think every single show we've ever played, since maybe some of the early ones, we've played Unchained Angel, we played Triple X, we played Savage Desire, most of them, and Witch's Sabbath. Those are 4 songs that have been on the demo. We probably played them at almost every single gig we've ever done. So it's like, they're just you want people go, what's your favorite songs, but it's kind of like your kids. You kind of love them all, and equally. So it's hard to pick and choose. But yeah, man, 41 years, still delivering the mayhem.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And in fact, you guys just recently, or fairly recently, had a show in Chicago. I think you were telling me before we started recording.
Man, we played this Metal Threat. At the last minute, they had some cancellations, bands, because they brought in these bands from Sweden and Holland, but where are all those death metal bands? Sweden and just all over, Switzerland, all these black metal bands. It was a Metal Threat, 4 days of metal, 50 bands.
Wow.
And all of a sudden they go, hey man, can Nasty Savage make it? And this was like 2 weeks before. I said, let me call the boys and find out. And we did it. So we got there, and we were the third to last band that played on Sunday night on a good time slot, like around 8:30. So it was pretty awesome. And to be there with a lot of young metalheads and kids and older guys too, but that most of them maybe never even saw Nasty Savage, but some of them maybe never even heard of Nasty Savage. Right. And I was on stage and I go, yeah, man, this is pretty cool. It's got all these like death metal and black metal and scary metal. I was like just joking around in it. So, I was like, man, it's time to really put some impact on these people, take them on a trip, Wow. They were going to get on the bus and we're going to take them back to the old school 80s style of metal. Nasty Savage, is everybody in? And I hooked those people from the beginning. And that's what's going on today in metal, man. These bands will sit up there and, and they're awesome, but they don't do much besides just intensity riffing and, doing that stuff. I just put on a show, I take people on a trip. And I think we really did, man. And the people were right there the whole time, right there. And it was really cool. It was really cool. I enjoyed it. And after 41 years, you kind of look at what you're doing and you always try to home it in better. And I listen to tapes and stuff once in a while from, like, I just heard a tape from the 90s when we toured with DRI and Sick of It All. We did 60 shows in 65 days.
Wow.
And I was listening to a couple of tapes or video I saw, and I'm like, God dang. And so you learn how to reach out and really grab a hold of the people and get them involved in the show. And besides burning images in their brains with whatever we do, it's how do you connect with them and how you relate to them. Because in the old days we were singing about thunder and lightning and metal and posers, and so as you grow older and more mature, you start writing a little more mature, maybe in an abstract form of reality. That's what I always like to do. Like, can you hear the sound between the words, or what is it about? And but I always wrote for myself and not necessarily for anyone else. But you try to relate and grow old. As you grow older, you want to put a message out. So I really enjoy trying to educate people in a way to be better people, believe it or not. So it's kind of surreal. It's kind of surreal. And after 41 years, I just feel like I'm really dialing it in. Maybe like Picasso in his older age, he knew he was getting old. He wanted to do it more and more fiercely, paint and produce. And I think that's what performers really try to do, because they don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
They know it's coming to the end, maybe. So you want to make the most out of it. And that's what I'm kind of excited about now, is relating to younger generations, because we are.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, and your influence goes far and wide. I mean, that's one thing I think, and which I think is cool that our younger people are learning and getting into, because especially if they're fans of death metal and thrash metal, you're going to, if you go down that rabbit hole, you're going to find Nasty Savage, especially if you're into the the Florida death metal scene, because all of those bands were heavily influenced by Nasty Savage, and by you as a front man, and and Dave and Ben, and yeah, I mean, there's no denial there. I mean, it's fine. I was listening to Atheist just the other day, and I'm like, man, I can totally hear Nasty Savage and some of that guitar work. It's
Well,
cool.
what happened was there was Sabotage, it was Avatar, and then they changed to Sabotage, and we used to go to their shows, and I was like into metal, and I was really into it. There's another band called Argus who played.
Oh yeah.
They're inspired by some of us guys, and they would play new wave British heavy metal, like that song Storm Child. I forget who did that one, but then they'd play some obscure Priest and Maiden, and then they'd play Holocaust, and some cool. We'd tell them what to play, and they'd learn it, man, and we'd love it, and it really inspired us. So that's all we really had. So we had to, when I got in the band, which, I'll tell you the quick story of that, because you probably need to set the record straight. There was a band, Nightmare, and it was Ben and Fred, and Craig Huffin was the drummer. And they had a female singer. They were just playing local parties and stuff. This was like early 80, 82, 83, maybe 82. And someone said, "Hey, Ron, you need to try for this band. They're looking for a singer." And I go, "Man, I've never done that before," but I thought, hell, why not? So I went to this band jam house, and I tried out, and I sang 2 songs like Iron Maiden. One was The Rothschild, and then I left. And then I never heard back from the guys. I was like, damn. And then I saw them at a keg party about a week or 2 later. And I said, "Hey, man," I went up to them. I said, "Do you want me to be your singer or not?" And they go, "Yeah." I go, "I'll be over Monday with a game plan." And so I came over to the house, and I said, "All right, everybody out except the band." And these people were looking at me like, "Who the hell is this guy?" I said, "Everybody out now except the band." I said, okay, they left. I go, "All right, sit down, guys. This is the deal." I came up with a concept. Nasty Savage is the name of the band. I'm going to be Nasty Ronnie, the wildest singer ever. I said, we're going to put our money together, because I wasn't into singing Rob Halford and, everybody else. I said, shit, I'd rather sing my own shit. I said, why don't we put our money together and make a demo tape? We're going to call it Wage of Mayhem, and we're going to put 4 songs on it. But within 1 year, we're going to be signed. We're going to be getting fan mail from all over the world, and we are going to be touring. Is everybody in? And the rest was kind of history. But all that happened because we worked hard at it. We took it very serious. But right before we did the demo tape, we acquired David Austin and another guitarist, and then Craig left, and then we got Curtis Beeson. And so that rounded out the band, and then we went ahead with the demo and, did that. And I just started marketing the hell out of it. And that was kind of my job. I really wasn't a singer. I just played one on stage kind of, so I'm like, I better do the marketing because, if I'm involved, it's like, this shit's going to happen. And, it was just Barnum and Bailey, man, greatest show on earth. Don't miss it. Be there, marketing and promotion and wow factor, just marketing of metal. And so that's how the band really got established. So with that, we had to make some shit happen at our shows. So the very first show we ever did when Craig was still in the band, it was in the side yard of this guy's house in a suburban neighborhood. And his mom was out of town and dad. And we went to this job site and stole a bunch of plywood and a bunch of plywood. We put it on Fred's van and on top of the van and tied it down and set up this giant stage we made in this guy's side yard. And we got to the gig. There was a TV set there still on stage already on our very first show. But I got there, a bunch of people were all in the front yard. My buddy had a Harley. And I go, Scott, man, let me ride your Harley through the crowd, man. And I just cranked it up, blah, 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 and rode right through the crowd to the stage, right to the front of the stage, got off. And that's how we started. So all of a sudden, it was pretty damn cool for, the average guys in the neighborhood that go to keg parties. And here's this freaking new band, So like, and so then we went ahead and started playing. And I think within about the first 5 songs, the police came, sheriff's department. The sheriff's department came, and right when I saw him, I said, "Okay, let's play Breaking the Law." And we started playing down, breaking the law, breaking the law. And the cops on the stage, I'm still so breaking the law, right, almost right to his face. We finally stopped, and they go, "Man, you got to quit, or you're going to jail." Quit, and they made an announcement. At this, everybody go home. So then the cops left. They got 2 minutes away. We cranked it up again. It just started playing again. And man, the people love that anarchist thing, like, damn, they're defiant. And the cops came back again. It was a big scene. And then that was pretty much it for our first show. But, that set the tone. And then we just started doing more gigs and cow pastures and this and that. We played at the fair one time, and they didn't know what they were in for when we played the fair. But, we started doing these shows, and I think a lot of these kids are out there watching, and they're going, man, this is intense. This is cool. This is mayhem, Nasty Savage mayhem. So a lot of those kids turned out to be Deicide, Morbid Angel, Death, Obituary. These were people in the crowd. So when they created their, Nocturnus, all the atheists. So when they created their stuff, they took it like to another extreme. And it was really unbelievable because these guys created this music, and, they talk about California, hell, death metal and all that. Florida was the heavy metal and the death metal capital of the world after that. Once we recorded our album in Morrisound Studios, Sabotage recorded there as well. But there was metal bands coming from all over the world, man. And I remember Creator, I did backups on there. Agent Steel came, next thing you know, all these bands. And this guy, Scott Burns, became this master death metal producer, and for us, he worked there, and he was an assistant to Jim Morris. So, you know, Scott became this legendary producer, Morrisound Recording, you know, all these bands started coming out. And back when I first was doing Nasty Savage, my mom says, "Oh, there's two boys at the door and they want to talk to you." And I'm like, "Really?" I go, "Okay." So I go to the door, and these two kids on bicycles with the banana seats, the Schwinn bikes, you know,
Yeah.
and they go, "Hey, we're John and Donald Tardy, and we want to know." First, they go, "You're Nasty Ronnie." I go, "Yeah." And they go, "Hey, we're John and Donald Tardy, and we want to know how to start a band." And they came right to the source of someone who was the marketing kind of guru at the time in Tampa Bay for promotion and marketing and sensationalizing of heavy metal. I was like, damn, these boys are smart, man. They came directly to the source. You know, I'm like, dude, how can I help you? So I said, let's go to Lithia Springs. It's this park that has, this cool spring you swim in at 72 degrees. And it's a state park. So we went there. My Chevelle, I drove them there. Had a 70 Chevelle in high school.
Sweet.
We threw the Frisbee for about 5 hours, man. And I schooled them on, just taking care of business and being in a band and producing, and look where they've gone, so it's like,
yeah,
it's really cool when those guys give us props. They put us in the video, 1,000 Ways to Die or 10,000 Ways to Die. I don't know if you've seen the animated video.
Oh yeah.
It has like 5 million views, and they just did a book. In their book, there's a whole chapter about Nasty Savage. So, stuff like that's really cool when people appreciate, what you've done or how you inspired or influenced them. And those guys, I respect them so much for their work ethic, their business practices, their hustle, their drive, determination. And, they're really kicking ass. But then you got Morbid Angel, Deicide, when Dezo left the band after the Indulgence album, we're getting ready to do another one when we did You Snooze, You Lose, the Abstract Reality EP. And I never really knew this because when we tried out bass players or any members, I really wouldn't go. I would leave it up to the band, because they're the guys who have to play with each other.
Yeah.
So I just left it up to them to pick whoever they want to jam with, and I'll be cool with it because that's really what mattered. And Glenn Benton comes up to me from Deicide one day. He goes, "Hey, motherfucker." He goes, "You guys didn't pick me to be in your band, man." He goes, "I tried out to be your bass player." I go, "No way, man. I didn't know that." I go, "That's when we picked Chris Morehouse, Rest in peace, Chris."
Yeah.
But Glenn Benton actually tried out for Nasty Savage. So I'm thinking,
wow,
man, just think if he would have got a Nasty Savage, he might have never burned the cross in his head. It might have changed the course of heavy metal.
Wow, that's wild. That is wild. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. You talk about, the fact that, the obituary guys, showed up, as kids on their bicycles. And it's funny because, I've chatted with, over the years, I've interviewed multiple people, especially Florida death metal musicians. And yeah, they always bring up Nasty Savage, all of them, like as their biggest influence, that was that band, and I remember, and they'll talk about that, seeing you guys play clubs and just how it just blew them away. And, really changed the course of the metal scene, as you said, Florida was such a hot spot for that. In the 80s, and really it was Nasty Savage was what drove that, and obviously the music, but then of course you as a front man and just the kind of absolute passion and insanity that you bring to the stage, even though it's kind of controlled chaos in a way. And and I was fortunate enough to see you guys play last summer in North Carolina at the Carolina Chainsaw Massacre Fest, and I was floored. I'd never seen you live before. I'd seen footage, but I'd never been to a show, and I was amazed and just enthralled with, especially I was front and center, like right up at the stage, and I was completely blown away by your passion and just you know, as you said, I mean, just the showmanship that you have. And so I was really like, where did that kind of, when did you start? I mean, it sounds like you started developing that very early on. I mean, from the day one, really, like, you know, as far as the televisions and all the, you know, the chains and everything, like, kind of where did that come from? Were you like a horror fan? Like what prompted all of that? I was really curious, like kind of where that came from.
Yeah, you know, when I talk to people who have no clue of what heavy metal is, let alone Nasty Savage, I go, yeah, I was in this metal band, you know, Nasty Savage. I go, it's kind of a cross between pro wrestling meets Jim Morrison meets Alice Cooper meets Slayer or something. And they
Yeah.
go, oh, really? Do you bite any heads off bats? I go, no, I don't do that, but I do a lot of other crazy stuff. But you know, as a young kid, I mean, I was inspired by, you know, the Beatles, and then it was Elvis, and just that showman of, you know, the how to create, you know, people and the passion that these guys had. And then it was Jim Morrison and Alice Cooper, you know, things like that. But it was also other aspects of life, like pro wrestling and showmanship, and you know, championships, and you know, whatever. And I just put it all together, and then I got into like Wendy O. Williams and the Plasmatics, and Wendy O used to saw guitars in half, and she would smash a television set with a sledgehammer. And I like that because it was kind of anti-authority. It was like, you know what? Brainwashing is through television and through media, you know, so that's why we smash it. And then I just took it to the next level, you know, like, you know what? I'm just going to use it as a prop, because it's like if you go to a bullfight, you know what's going to happen to the bull in the end, but they mess with the bull the whole time and utilize it, you know? So to me, it turned into a show. And then I just thought, well, hell, I'm the front man. You know, in the old days, like Elvis, Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Johnny Cash sometimes played on the same stage when they were young,
Yeah.
traveling through the South, you know. And when one guy got off the stage, the next guy got on. So when you have the stage, you might as well use it. And if you're a front man, I mean, that's all I knew, is to be crazy and wild, and you know, and it's like Jerry Lee Lewis, and Jerry Lee would get off the stage and burn his piano down, and then go to Little Richard's coming up next, top that motherfucker. You know, like, so it was like, that was my mentality. I pity the fool who has to go after us, because there's going to be destruction on the stage. There's going to be mayhem. There's going to be blood, broken TVs. Now there's the flowers and all that. You know, it's surreal.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do, is leave an impression on people, you know, leave an impression on people enough so they will never forget when they saw Nasty Savage. But, you know, that's all we can do, because the next band's coming up after you. And you only have, and you have your time in life like that. So in life, why don't you do good things and impress people, and do positive things for people, you know, and add value to people. And if you can add entertainment to them, I mean, I think I love to do that, you know, because being a performer is one thing, and you have to perform, you know, but some bands don't. They just get by on their music and power. And, you know, a lot of the black metal and death metal bands, they're just so brutally heavy. But, you know, I'm like the three-ring circus shit. You never know what's going to happen, you know. And
Right.
in the early days, I did even more crazy shit.
Right. Yeah. I've seen some footage. I've seen some photographs. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you definitely do some wild stuff. And yeah, that kind of yeah, that element of pro wrestling, but it's interesting to me, I love the fact that you smash TVs. It's wild to think that sometimes you smash them on yourself. And the blood is real. And has there ever been and maybe this is a stupid question. Have you ever, you know, like knocked yourself out cold on stage? Yeah, I mean, because you've literally dropped televisions on your head.
Yeah, it's you know, it hits my chest pretty hard, and it's actually a kind of a controlled violence,
Hmm.
as much as it can be, but it is also theater, and it
Mhm.
also is a performance. So you really don't want to get hurt, you know, because if you get hurt, then it just stops everything you're doing.
Yeah.
But you know, I've had some good scars and stuff. But we were in Mexico, and I had this chunk of glass lodged in my leg and my knee, and I'm like, after we got it backstage, I'm like, damn, why is my pants under my knee so wet? I said it was full of blood,
Oh my
and
God.
it was just a piece of the glass actually from the tube, because it's real thick glass, got in my knee, and the promoter was a doctor, like a surgeon, you know. He goes, oh, let me see, I can get it out. And they tried to tell me that he got it out. Him and his wife were were bandaging it up. I'm like, dude, it's still in there.
Oh
So I
man.
got home, and I still, for about a week later, I'm walking around and shit. I go, man, that shit's still in my leg. And so I went to the doctor, and you know, the like emergency thing, and sure enough, x-rayed, got it. Then they had to cut it back out and pull it out, you
Oh,
know. So it was that was kind of a bad scene. But you know, you try not to get hurt, but you know what, it's kind of scary too, because you really don't know how far it's gonna go, you know.
right.
And you know, you just try to, I don't know, try to shock people enough to burn images in their brain, something they'll never forget. And you know, it's just part of, but the TV could represent a lot of different things,
Yeah.
you know, that other people, you know, cherish or something, or, you know, because they get all their information from television, or, you know, sometimes I'll look into the TV and the blank screen, and I'll see things, and I'll take the people with me to try to look, and what is he looking at? He's seeing something in there. Or I'll take the remotes and try to change the channels, and, you know, I'll just act out, and I'll play that card the whole time. So then now we come up to the song "The Morgue," and I talk about, hey man, if you're not talking to somebody in life, make the call, because blah blah blah. You might end up seeing them in the morgue. You know, make the call, make the call. And then I'll go to the television, and I put that mask on. And when I put the mask on, you kind of can really show more feelings like tragedy and happiness. You know, that the old uh, the old two faces. You know, the happy and sad face.
Yeah.
Like so. Anyway, I play that out, and I really show emotion of sadness and losing somebody, fear of death. But then I look at the TV, and I use the flowers to look at the TV as a sacrificial lamb, and I'll start pulling petals off the flowers, and I'll start throwing them on the TV, and I'll try to get people to understand he's sacrificing where the flowers are going on. What is he? He's putting it on the TV. Oh, so then I'll just start hitting the TV with the flowers and just go a little crazy with it. And you know, and because that's a kind of a sign of what's about to come. I'm
Yeah.
throwing the flowers on the TV because it's a sacrificial object.
Right. Right. And then the chain comes, then the chain hits.
Oh yeah, the chain, that's more for the when I come up to Unchained Angel, and I'll mess with that prior to that as well.
Yeah.
And you know, that's one thing I tell these promoters: you got to have a chain, about a 5-foot chain, a TV or two. You know, I need to have a couple of bouquets of flowers. So they get some odd requests from Nasty Savage.
Well, I love the symbolism, and I love the yeah, I love that, the theater of it. I love the fact, you know, you mentioned Alice Cooper, and it seems like it's almost a similar, and I don't want to, you know, project on you, but I think it feels like a similar thing where, like, yeah, Nasty Ronnie is this character on the stage that's here to entertain and to kind of open your eyes to some different things. And that's one of the reasons I love Nasty Savage so much, and love you as a performer, is the yeah, I mean, there's truth in art, obviously, and I love to see that play out. I love the way that you play that out on stage, and it's interesting. It's intense. It's a very intense performance. Yeah, like you said, you know, that's a, you know, that show, I'm going to take that to my grave. I mean, that's a, you know, I'll be on my deathbed and tell my great grandchildren about when I saw Nasty Savage and I saw, Nasty Ronnie smash a TV over his, his body. And it's a fascinating performance. It's really incredible. It like I said before, I mean, when I saw it, it really blew me away. I was floored by the whole thing. It just was somewhat shocking, I guess you can say, and to some degree, but I loved just the emotion of that performance. And as you said, there's so many bands that just get up and play, which is fine, but to have something like that, that theatrical, but also that real is really incredible, especially on a small stage.
Yeah, and what really drives it is the music. I mean, that hypnotic, Nasty Savage sound that sounds kind of like no other band.
Yeah.
It's really amazing, the music that the guys wrote, that has stood the test of time, and it just have nothing but respect for the musicians who worked their asses off to record it, create it. And because I had no input in the music, I just said, oh yeah, give me do this or that, but each album just got a little more weird and intensity, and more abstract and different. So I just had to write to what they were coming up with. But then you get the music, sets the tone. You get that intro thing that happens before we play. It's kind of like, I don't want to say going to battle, I don't know, but it's just that it's game time, and I can shut that off as soon as I'm done. I don't have to be Nasty Ronnie 24/7. It'll just interfere. And just it'll burn you out real fast.
Yeah.
But like your impact of it, that was pretty powerful, like a wow factor. Like, damn, this band was different from the rest. So how do you separate from everybody else? You put on a show, or you just deliver. However you do it, deliver it. And I remember, man, when we used to play these shows, we were on tour with DRI and everything, and we were done. I wasn't smashing TVs on that tour. I'd use other objects and stuff, but then I put apples on the stage, and I do these headbutts. I just like throw my body down and hit that with my head, bust the apple, and come about an inch away from smashing the stage. So I would always use some kind of spectacle somehow. But people would go, holy shit, wow. And that was the cool feedback when they'd go to the band members, because I wouldn't hang around. I'd get away because I was usually messed up, scarred up, or had damage or something. I just I give it my all. So I was gone, and they were like, man, people are freaking out. And it was cool because it'd fire the guys up, and knowing that, man, we are different, and there's really no one like what Nasty Savage does.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, it's incredible. I was curious. I wanted to ask you. So I saw an interview a couple years ago with James Coker, the drummer, and he was talking about new material you guys were working on. And I was curious if you, is there a new album coming out, or kind of what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, it's glad you brought that up, because David Austin, after we played Mexico, he quit Nasty Savage. He was just done with music, and he was just burnt out. And now he's got his own project called DNA, and he's going to do a like a solo project. He's got some really good musicians on it, and all the best to Dave. But he left Nasty Savage, so I was like, damn. It's not the end of Nasty Savage, man. There's more to this thing. There's another chapter or two left. So we got another guitarist, Dave Orman, who he played in the band Contorted with Jim Coker and Pete even. I think it was Contorted. Anyway, the dude rips on guitar, and he can also play, like, say, Al Di Meola or just Jeff Beck. I mean, he's a really talented guitarist. And so he filled that void really well. And Pete, our other guitarist, then we have Scott Carino on bass, which has been with us now, and then Jim Coker on drums, who's just a a cool ass dude and a beast of a drummer, just an awesome guy. And we're putting together some new songs. We're in Chicago. We played one called The Sixth Finger, and it was an instrumental song, and it's pretty progressive, heavy, thrashy, you know, really cool song. And I think if you Google that show, Metal Threat, our set's there somewhere, but we played it live and it really went over good.
Nice.
And then we've got some other cool songs, and Pete, he wrote a really killer one. I've got some really cool titles. One's called Operation Annihilate. Another one is Aztec Elegance, Jeopardy Room. Damn, I can't think of the other ones, but there's just some really cool stuff. And as just like being a performer, you as a writer, I mean, this is the best stuff yet. I mean, it's like a painter, you know, you can never be satisfied with your paintings. The next one's, or a surfer, you know, looking for that ultimate wave.
Right.
You know, I was a producer, a television producer, and I did 1,340 TV episodes of Born to Ride TV. And that's more than the Cops. It's more than Cops. It's more than the Simpsons. But every time I was like, I can do better, you know, and same thing with songwriting. So that's where we're at with the songs, writing some really cool lyrics. And, you know, it's a process. So that's where we're at now. We're definitely writing new stuff, and we'll probably have it, hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have something, some demos ready to go. And because right now Dave Orman's out of town. He's living in Alabama or somewhere. Oh, okay. So you know, we have to do that, you know, share the files and all that shit. And they're just now doing the music, and then I got to get the songs and then kind of see where I'm really going to sing to. I'd like it when they say, okay, you sing here, stop, here's the chorus. And, you know, then I put my stuff to it. So I kind of try to keep it simple with that, but I'm excited. It's the first time I've written with these guys. Usually it's been David, and you know, we did a lot of stuff like that.
Right. Cool. So that's great news. That means hopefully 2024 we'll have a brand new Nasty Savage album out. That is awesome news.
Yeah, we're talking to some guy about a South American tour in January, and October, I think we're going to do Holland, Belgium, and Germany, 3 shows.
Oh, cool.
And then November, we're doing a show in LA with Violence.
Oh, wow.
So that's going to be one for sure. And we could play in Tampa anytime, but I wanted to get these new songs and then be able to play a few locally, you know?
Yeah. Very cool. Oh, that's great news. That's exciting. I love that. That's cool. Yeah. And hopefully you'll, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was my next question was, you know, touring with, you know, what you guys have planned for the coming year for touring. And it sounds like you've got a lot of cool stuff coming up. So that is.
Yeah, not really touring, but shows here and there, a couple of shows here, but the South American tour would maybe be 10 shows. And, you know, at my age, that's going to be a challenge, but I'm up for it. You know, I'm up to try to do it.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, that's the thing too. I mean, with, you know, for you, it's not just touring. It's, you know, because you take a beating on stage. So, you know, that's, I would imagine, you know, there's some recovery time there now.
Yeah, it's like that song, Distorted Fanatic. I'm a distorted fanatic. You love to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so you end up fucking yourself up and doing stupid stuff. And, you know, it's like, damn, I have to do that.
Right. Yeah. So I don't want to keep you all night, but I did want to ask you, and this has nothing to do with Nasty Savage or even music, but I was curious. I don't even remember when this was. I saw an interview with you years ago, and you were talking about Sergeant Rock comic books. And I love comic books, and I have a bunch of old Sergeant Rock. So I had to ask you about your love for Sergeant Rock and comic books.
Well, that's cool, man, because, you know, I just this week, I joined this group on Facebook called Sergeant Rock Comics.
Oh, cool.
You know, but I'm in all kinds of groups because I have booths in antique malls. So I'm always buying and selling antiques, collectibles, toys, furniture, and just cool stuff. I think I've got in one place I got 4 booths, another one I've got 2, and another one I've got 4 booths.
Oh,
I'm in
wow.
3 different locations. So I'm real active. Saturday mornings, man, I'm out garage sailing, yard sailing, finding cool stuff.
Nice.
But I do collect comics as well because I have those long boxes. I must have 50 long boxes full of comics.
Damn.
And I do have a lot of Army comics and war comics. And I always loved Sergeant Rock because I love that one artist. He just stands out from the rest. And I can't think of his name right now, but he's an artist for, I love Sergeant Fury too. That was really cool. And,
Yeah.
there's so many cool ones but our Army at War, the Haunted Tank,
Oh, yeah. On a tank. Yes.
but I've got a ton of Sergeant Rocks, and I sell comic books too at my locations.
Oh,
So
cool.
I've always liked it. I love the show Combat, as in the '60s. Combat with Vic Morrow and it's on now on this Heroes TV network every Saturday for 2 hours, and that's been a big inspiration for me because I always played with GI Joes and collect GI Joes. I have hundreds of them.
Yeah.
I have this site called or a page called Combat Camera. So just hashtag Combat Camera, and I do these 12-inch figures, and I create battle scenes with them, and I like do dioramas. But it's like when I was a kid. I'll take them in the backyard, set them up, shoot them, put them away. It's not like I'm using lighting and effects and all this stuff. And I'm trying to get people my age to say, take your toys out of the box and play with them like you did when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Don't just leave them in the box, And it's real important to me because that's all I've ever done is create stuff. And my brother and sister were 20. They were like 10 years older than me, 10 and 11 years older than me. So I never got to really play with anybody. I was always by myself creating. And I think that's how I became creative. If it wasn't for some of the guys in the neighborhood or, my friends, but when you're at home, they wouldn't even play Monopoly with me and shit, because they were like 10 years older. So they were doing their thing. But that's how I found out about the Beatles from my sister. But so I became creative, and I always played with Army men and all this stuff. And then I collected GI Joes, and I created this deal called Combat Camera. And when you see it, you'll see I do Civil War. I got Civil War figures, World War II. I've got Vietnam. So it's a difference. It's just some crazy shit I've always done.
Nice.
So I publish Born to Ride magazine. I produced the Born to Ride TV show. I co-produced 200 episodes of the IWF Wrestling in 1990 before I started Born to Ride. That's how I got my background with television and marketing.
Oh, yeah.
And then I do the Nasty Savage and the antique mall stuff. So, I'm pretty active and always producing something.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I did a photo shoot today of Combat Camera doing these Japanese guys in the Pacific, Imperial Japanese soldiers.
Oh, wow.
One GI Joe, Imperial Japanese, goes for about $350. I think in this photo shoot I had about 6 or 8 of them on the set.
Jeez.
And so yeah, it's kind of a expensive hobby, but you got to have some kind of fun. But I collect GI Joes. I got hundreds of them.
Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out. That sounds awesome.
Check it out. And, leave me a comment. And I got some. We reissued the Wage of Mayhem demo tape. So I have some of those. If anybody wants those, they can just private message me. They go to Nasty Savage Wage of Mayhem, or they can just go to Ron Galetti's page. And I got some Nasty Savage T-shirts. So we got some left over from the gigs.
Nice.
And, I'd like to just spread it out to people if you want. You never know. People reach out to me right now, or after they hear this, I might just send some free stuff out. So if you reach out, tell me you heard it on this network here on this show, and you might just get a blessing.
Awesome. Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, and I've got a copy of the Wage of Mayhem right here, with the rarities, and it is a beautiful album. I love it.
Oh
As
yeah, we have
all of the
the
albums are.
High School Lovers on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And The Way of the Warlock was a cool
Oh, that's a
song.
great song. I love that
Yeah,
song.
that's
Yeah.
one of Fred's, man. I tell you, the first album was predominantly Fred Dregeshin writing a lot of that stuff, you know, and really you could feel that Iron Maiden inspiration and
Yeah.
influence.
Yeah.
But The Way of the Warlock is really cool. I kept telling David, I said, man, we need to record that. You know, we need to do. Oh no, we ain't doing that. You know, because we just wanted to do new stuff, which is cool. But man, I like some of that old stuff too. Way of the Warlock should have been on an album.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's a killer song. Love that.
So that makes the Wage of Mayhem rarities thing a little more, you know, valuable, I would say, because it's got a song there. It's got some live stuff from CBGBs and,
Yeah, great.
you know, a couple other songs. So we try to give something a little different, you know.
Yeah. Is there you know, the CBGBs, there's a couple of tracks from that. Is there more, are there more recordings and demos and stuff you guys haven't put out yet?
Not a lot, man.
Okay.
They disappeared somehow. I remember I had a box of tapes, all kinds of soundboard tapes from the 80s and 90s, or more in the 80s. And I had some guys come over from Germany, and the guy's name is Martin Reuter. He ended up being in a big record company in Germany. But I just gave them all to him. I said, here, take them. And like a dumbass, I just gave them to him. And I wonder if he still has those, because there was probably some real classic stuff on a lot of those.
Yeah.
Must have been a dozen live tapes.
Wow.
A lot of them were soundboard tapes too.
Oh, that'd be incredible to hear. Yeah, hopefully he hears this somehow and, you know, gets in touch with you and you guys are able to put that out someday. That would be incredible.
Yeah, because our sound man was so awesome, Tony Izzo, and he would always dial in. You know, you're only as good sometimes as your sound man, especially nowadays. Man, we go to these you know, festivals, or we're playing this and that, and we're just got to deal with whatever sound man they have. You know, it's like, damn. So I try to go, look, man, I need a little bit of effects when I hit these high screams and stuff. You need to give me some delay. Oh yeah, I got you, man. I go, here's $20. I'll tip you more afterwards. You know, just don't fuck it up. And you know, of course, something's always wrong, or you can't hear the monitors, or you know you know, you're really at a sacrifice when you're playing live, because you just never know the element you got to deal with.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, it's not easy when you don't have your own sound man. You got your own sound man. He knows the leads, you know, puts this guy up when he's doing his lead. The other guy comes down a little. He knows the effect parts of the voices, and you know, that really helps.
Yeah.
When you're singing and, someone hits some delay right before you hit Gladiator, it just helps carry it, you know, right from the get-go. But if it's dry, it just sucks, man. So I try to do now some mid-range stuff rather than some of all the high stuff. It's hard.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, Nasty Ronnie, this has been an absolute honor and a pleasure chatting with you tonight. For those of you listening, if you look in the description below, there are links to Nasty Savage. I'll put in a link to Combat Camera, because that's awesome. But yeah, if you know, as you mentioned, Ronnie, there's some cool shows coming up. If you guys are in, you know, for those of you watching, if you're in those areas, you'll definitely want to catch Nasty Savage. If you've never seen Nasty Savage before, if they're coming to your area, you want to go to that show, because like I said, it's one of the most incredible live experiences I've ever had. I was completely blown away. So again, thank you so very much for chatting with me. This has been incredible.
Well, you know, I really appreciate what you do. And, you know, we got to support the metal media out there, people. I mean, people are sacrificing their time and their energy and giving their passion for metal. And, you know, all metal bands, anybody who's doing what we do, I always try to encourage media, but also the bands, the young guys out there. it's really important that you carry on the metal, especially if you're playing old school metal of a new band. It's just go ahead and have fun, but take care of business and always get home safe and alive. That's the most important thing. Take care of business, and you never know where it'll take you, man. Look at the band like Obituary and Morbid and Deicide. These guys have been very, very successful, and it can happen. We might have missed our calling for some reason. A lot of people say we did, and I kind of agree, but we can only do what we do. And if you're in control of your destiny now and you're young, just be motivated and dedicated, and it'll all work out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you heard it here, folks, from the man.
And it's hashtag Nasty Savage Wage of Mayhem. That's the page that I do. It's Nasty Savage Wage of Mayhem. You could check that out. If we're doing shows, we'll be posting it there too. We have the .com too, nastysavage.com. So you can check all that out. But like I said, we have the Wage of Mayhem demos. We have T-shirts or whatever you guys. Someone reach out, man. I might just send you one.
Right on. Thank you, sir.
All right, man. Keep up the great work, and let's stay in touch. If you need anything, you have my number. I'm always here for you.
Thanks, brother. Have
All
a
right,
great
man.
night. Take care.
Thank you.